give it a minute. Some people are setting up still. Good morning. I'm Summer Stephan, San Diego County District Attorney. Today, I'm announcing charges related to the misappropriation, better described as massive theft by an ex-convict of San Diego County grant funds that were supposed to go for reducing fentanyl deaths in our region. It's sickening that this fraudster decided to line her own pockets, pay for luxury trips, cosmetic plastic surgeries with these precious, potentially life-saving dollars. It is also deeply concerning that the checks and balances that are supposed to safeguard the county's large budget and trust funds failed in this case. The defendant, Amy Knox, is responsible for bilking the county of public funds. The defendant has been charged with 3 felony counts of misappropriating public funds and 3 felony counts of embezzlement with the white-collar fraud allegation for great taking. There were 2 grants that the County of San Diego awarded to Harm Reduction San Diego. That defendant was the chief operating officer for. And these 2 grants were in the amounts of $5.8 million, of which the county had already paid $3.68 million. We cannot, beyond a reasonable doubt at this time, know fully how much of those millions were compromised by theft. But we do know through an extensive investigation by my Public Integrity Unit that at a minimum $132,000 can be directly traced to criminal misappropriation and theft by this defendant. This theft of county funds was so blatant that the defendant used the Harm Reduction NGO account to directly pay for the 2 plastic cosmetic surgeries. Other stolen money was used to pay for SDG&E bills on her 2 homes and luxury trips to Hawaii and personal credit card bills, even dog training. Our team's extensive investigation search warrants uncovered this theft piece by piece. During her embezzlement of public funds, Knox made thousands of purchases for personal items and services on at least 4 personal credit cards. From January 2024 to May 2025, Knox used Harm Reduction San Diego's checking account to pay off her monthly credit card balances via electronic bank transfers. In addition to paying off her credit cards from October 2023 to May 2025, Knox embezzled over $10,000 in public funds for her SDG&E bills on her 2 homes. She also used the public funds to pay the $30,000 worth of cosmetic surgery. Here's what the evidence uncovered in this case. The County of San Diego awarded Harm Reduction, Inc. a contract for $4.2 million for Narcan distribution and related efforts. Narcan is an opioid reversal medication that can save lives. The CEO at the time was Tara Stamos, and the COO was the defendant, Amy Knox, in this case. Early on, there were red flags that the county became aware of, including reports that the Narcan was under a tarp in the front yard in 100-degree heat in East County. Audits showed a lack of ledger reconciliation and other major issues that were spotted by professional county staff. And the worst part of it is, even though the county did not do a background check initially on the CEO, Amy Knox, they did a background check when these red flags were raised and the malfeasance came out. They discovered this major embezzlement conviction of over $500,000 on her previous employer. And yet, they continued, and not only did they continue, but in less than a year later, in August of 2024, they awarded harm reduction with the signature of the CEO, Amy Knox, on the contract, a second contract. There was no referral to the DA's office by the county to our public integrity unit. To explain a little bit about the trust fund that was compromised by this major theft, the funds for these contracts were part of the over $50 billion that were secured from greedy corporations and pharmaceutical companies that were making our nation sick with opioid addiction and death. These funds were obtained by the hard work of California's Attorney General. He distributed these funds to cities and counties in order to fight against the opioid addiction and to help communities to be able to treat and prevent these deaths. San Diego County received those monies and they were placed in a consumer trust fund. And this consumer trust fund that was referred to as the Opioid Trust Fund, that was the trust fund that paid out the $5.8 million grants to harm reduction. The bottom line is, this defendant, with a history of stealing large amounts of money from her employer, with the conviction that my office prosecuted against her, was put in charge of millions of dollars in public funds. Her conduct of diverting money to her pockets instead of the potentially life-saving efforts of treatment for addiction and Narcan distribution and education is sickening on its own. However, the fact that the checks and balances that exist for a reason failed or were overruled is very troubling. That there was no background check at the onset of the contract is troubling. That after professional county employees and staff raised clear concerns, that county officials ran a background check, discovered the embezzlement, discovered that it was in an amount of $500,000, and still provided a second contract that she signed, is extremely troubling to me as the district attorney. The evidence shows that, well, let me go to how did our investigation begin then. Knox's fraud came to light when she began to accuse Harm Reduction San Diego CEO of malfeasance, including accusing her of driving the van with naloxone to distribute in Mexico, blaming her for 2 employee overdoses related to the testing of illicit drugs. She accused Stamos of those things possibly connected with the information starting to come out more publicly about what was happening. Stamos responded, this is the CAO, by reporting to the DA's office that she uncovered suspicious payments that defrauded harm reduction by Knox. She did this report in May of 2025. The county then ended the contracts in June of 2025. We opened our investigation because we take every allegation of public integrity and fraud very seriously. Unfortunately, when the county terminated the contract, there was no referral for criminal investigation to the DA's Public Integrity Unit, as has been done by board leadership in prior instances of suspected malfeasance. This is deeply concerning. I should also say that Supervisor Aguirre was not on the board when the relevant events took place. Current Vice Chair Monica Montgomery Stepp, Joel Anderson, and Jim Desmond were not in the county leadership positions of chair or vice chair during the relevant time periods when the contracts and suspected malfeasance took place regarding this case. We have incredible staff and professional leaders at the county, including the CAO, Ebony Shelton, and courageous staff who want to do their jobs well and protect public monies and have scrutiny and care over the contracts and the public funds. However, our team sensed fear and trepidation when we were conducting our investigation. Fear about their jobs for cooperating with the investigation. Of course, they did not have a choice because it would be obstruction of justice to not respond to an investigation by the DA's Public Integrity Unit. And of course, the team and I will be watching closely to make sure that there are no repercussions against those courageous employees. We will protect them with everything that we have because the evidence will come out during future hearings. We also learned that there had been an effort to remove checks and balances when it comes to contracts. Many professionals have left the county employment recently with agreements to be silenced. That is concerning. This type of culture of fear for speaking truth is the kind of thing that as a prosecutor has my spidey antenna up. It can create the kind of abscess that happened in Los Angeles, where they can't even pay for fire protection. To keep this in-house at the county is the way that county loses public trust regarding public monies. These consumer protection funds are public dollars that should be safeguarded. They are the public's funds that must be treated with transparency and accountability. Fraud happens even when checks and balances are in place, but it cannot be covered up. It has to be made public so we build trust and fiscal accountability in serving our community. If any county public employee has information about suspected malfeasance or theft, because we don't know if there are other contracts that are compromised, they should come to the DA's office. You should come forward and report your concerns. Each of you have a responsibility to safeguard our county and the 3.3 million people we serve. Under whistleblower laws, you will be protected. This investigation is ongoing as to identify why this happened, who is responsible for this mishandling of public funds, and how it can be avoided in the future to protect precious public funds. You can go to San Diego DA Public Integrity at sandiegoda.gov, and you can report anything that is worrying you. When the same institution involved in drafting, approving, and overseeing contracts is also tasked with reviewing potential wrongdoing tied to those contracts, conflicts exist. Our office is uniquely positioned to conduct independent investigations, follow the evidence wherever it leads, and make charging decisions based solely on the law and the facts. As the people's prosecutor, I have a duty to the community. I serve to expose wrongs, even if it's in my own county. And the community trusts me to be transparent and not cover up any issues that are of import, like this one. I don't answer to political pressures. I only answer to the law and to the people. I want to thank my Special Operations Division, which investigated and is prosecuting this case. Deputy District Attorney Matthew Dix is the prosecutor, and you will see him in the arraignment this afternoon. District Attorney Investigator Mark Kelly, who conducted the investigation. This team is led by the Chief of Special Operations, Stephen Marquardt, and Assistant Chief Leon Shore, who also leads our Public Integrity Unit, along with Shondell Boyce. They're all here today because this case really matters to us. Amy Knox will be arraigned today at 1:30 in Department 101. If convicted, she faces up to 7 years in prison. Are there any questions? Yes.
Hey, Blake with the Union Tribune. 2 questions. One, is any other member of the Harm Reduction Coalition still under suspicion? And I also wanted to return to when you brought up some of the specific supervisors on the Board of Supervisors. Are you concerned that any specific supervisors dropped the ball in overseeing this?
I should not and can't ethically talk about suspicions. I only can announce things when an investigation is complete, like we're doing here. So the investigation is ongoing, but the investigation is complete. But of course, we're always willing to see if there's additional evidence as to Amy Knox. But the investigation as to aspects in the county as to why and how this happened will proceed, and investigations regarding any evidence of any other parties that could be responsible for the fraud will proceed.
Lisa Halberstadt from Voice
Yes.
of San Diego. I'm really curious about the county audits. So there's one mentioned in the press release that you talked about in 2023, and then I know that they were also conducting an audit at the time that they were closing out the contract. Can you just walk me through what they were exactly uncovering and what the scopes of those audits were?
Well, audits are a general part of the practice of the county. And these are professionals that conduct them, and they take them very seriously. And the audits, and this is why we're so concerned, we're clearly highlighting some real issues. The ledgers didn't match, the banking system, the accountability as to what was being spent and not spent didn't match. And as the evidence will be heard at preliminary hearing, I think it's going to be even more shocking how clear it was that something was really wrong with this contract.
But what about the audit when they were closing out? Because you said they didn't, the county or supervisors didn't make a referral. How clear was it to them in that particular audit that I guess probably would have been conducted around June of 2025, May, June, August, July. How clear was it that there was money missing at that time?
So the way it's supposed to work and the way it has worked in the past is the county are not investigators and they are not law enforcement. But anytime there was something that was smelly, that wasn't right, it was referred to our public integrity division for investigation. That's how it worked in the past. As recent as as when the county's own person high up in the county assessor's office was suspected of funneling contracts to a company that his wife benefited from. Even before the investigation was complete, because they're not investigators. That is what the DA is here for. We are the people's public integrity investigator. It was referred to us for investigation. This was a lot more clear than that, and it was not referred to us.
Did you all receive copies of the audit, and how did that process go of trying to get that information from the county? Because you have indicated there were some challenges.
Well, the people that we talked to cooperated. They wanted to do the right thing. But they also knew that, there's not really a choice to do the right thing when you have the DA's public integrity unit asking questions. But they were nervous. They were clearly nervous. I just have to say that.
Was it hard for your office to get the documents that you were seeking from
No.
the county?
No, it was not hard to get it from the right people that we were talking to in the county.
I heard that
These were lower level people.
I heard that maybe Amy Knox was participating in the outro audit. Is that on your radar at all? Is that true?
Well, we do know that she's a great con artist. So as she saw that this was starting to become more revealed and closing down, she tried to shift blame and to distract from her own involvement and her own fraud. Yes.
And do you have any sense that there may be more missing money than you've charged for at this point? And are you looking at other organizations that she's also involved in? I know, she's board chair of an organization.
Yes, all of that is in our continuing investigation. And whenever you're able to fully document clearly a certain amount of theft, in almost every case there's a lot more that you're not able to track or document.
Is there a legal requirement to refer the audits to your office? Or any sort of policy on paper? I mean, how does that work?
I don't think that there is a policy. It's just as an ethical county, if you have fraud and malfeasance, you're not the county prosecutor. You have to refer it to the DA's office, and that's what's happened in the past. I mean, we've investigated and not just the county, all 18 cities refer malfeasance to us. You can just check the news blog lately and you'll see we have cases in Poway, we had cases in the city of San Diego, we have cases with the county of San Diego. It's what we do. We are the public integrity investigator and prosecutor, and the county knows it. So of all the different 18 cities, our county should know that best.
Does the Public Integrity Unit review any initial contracts that are getting approved by the Board of Supervisors to begin with to make sure that this happens, considering that this person was an ex-convict, convicted by your office?
No, we are not involved in contracts, and we're only involved when there's malfeasance in contracts.
I know there's some tension right now between you and the chair over her proposal to create a consumer protection unit. So I feel like I need to ask, how would you respond to people who might say that some of your commentary about supervisors not reporting it is kind of a tit for tat on that issue?
I don't do tit for tat. I have a criminal case with theft from the county. It happens to be, this time, it's a criminal case regarding a trust fund that the Attorney General brought in money for. It could have been just from the general budget or anything else, but that is the case before us. I'm certain there's no one in the public that is thinking that we somehow created cosmetic surgeries with pictures and everything that will come up in court that are paid for by harm reduction grants because of anything other than the facts and the evidence in the case.
When you were listing officials at the county, it was noticeable that you left the chair off of that list, and I wonder if you could clarify what your communications have been with her office on this issue.
There have not been communications with her office on this issue. This was an investigation that we were conducting, like we always do, very on the down low. That's why we have effective investigations. We don't spill the beans before the investigation is complete. Today is the arraignment date. I was only noting because I didn't want to be unfair to supervisors that were not in leadership roles during these different events. I wanted to make sure that I make that clear to be fair to them. It doesn't mean that the chair, who was the vice chair and chair, is responsible or knew about this. I'm not making any claims like that. What I am saying is that the other 4 supervisors were either not in the county or not in positions of leadership at that time.
I wrote about that case that you mentioned where in the past, I believe it was in 23, where there was a referral. Did a supervisor make that referral? Is it traditional that it is a supervisor or the chair making the referral rather than staff?
It comes different ways, but usually the chair and the CAO make the referral. One or the other one makes it, but with both their knowledge.
Returning to the question about your communications with the chair, as far as the broader issue of not referring and what you're saying now about examining county contracts, have you communicated at all with the chair on this?
Not yet, because today is the day that the investigation is being revealed and that we're going to court. So we definitely didn't want to do anything to disturb the investigation or stop the cooperation of anybody at the county. So that would not have been the right investigative time. In the future, going into the future, there'll be all sorts of communication as to how we can fix the system so that the checks and balances work and so county employees can do their job without any concerns.
You mentioned fixing the system. Is there any backstop that the DA is working with the county or the county attorney to create maybe its own background checks on people who might be on contracts to avoid, say in this instance, an ex-convict who's been charged with similar crimes, to avoid somebody falling through the cracks like in this instance?
We'll have to look at what the county needs. If there's something that we can do lawfully through the rules that we follow that would help the county do better and have better checks and balances, certainly we'll be ready to assist. Okay, sounds like we got it. Thank you so much.